As I swirl the bourbon in my glass, watching the amber liquid catch the light from my phone screen, I can't help but smiling at the notification that just appeared. Michael has transferred another $15,000 from what he thinks is our inheritance fund to his private account. He doesn't know that I'm sitting across the street from his favorite steakhouse, watching him laugh with Cassandra over champagne that costs more than my old military boots. What he also doesn't know is that I'm about to lock him out of every asset we've built over 12 years of marriage, including the ones he's convinced are entirely his. While he's booking a surprise trip to Costa Rica using money that was supposed to pay for my father's medical treatments, I'm orchestrating a financial earthquake that will leave him scrambling for loose change and couch cushions. He has no idea that his supposedly naive, PTSD-riddled wife spent 8 years as a Marine Corps financial crimes investigator before coming home to Cleveland. Let me tell you something about combat veterans. We don't just observe battlefields. We read patterns, we gather intelligence, and when the time is right, we strike with precision that would make any drill sergeant proud. 3 months ago, I noticed the first irregularity. Not the obvious kind that most cheating spouses leave. No perfume on collars or mysterious late-night calls. Michael was smarter than that, or so he thought. It was a banking alert on my phone that he didn't know I'd set up. A withdrawal of $3,200 labeled Business Conference in Miami. The same week I'd seen Cassandra posting poolside photos with mysterious champagne glasses that definitely weren't from any conference. Michael had always treated me like his personal charity case. The broken soldier who came home from Afghanistan with a Purple Heart and enough emotional baggage to fill a cargo plane. He'd pat my hand during dinner parties and explain to his lawyer friends how his wife needed structure and wasn't really cut out for the complex world of finance. If only he knew that while he was playing junior associate at Bradley & Associates, I was running sting operations on contractors who were embezzling millions from military reconstruction funds. The thing about being underestimated is that it gives you incredible freedom to operate. While Michael was explaining basic checking account concepts to me, I was already 3 layers deep into his digital footprints. The man didn't even know I'd been appointed to the Federal Reserve's Advisory Committee on Military Financial Transitions. 2 years ago, he'd missed the ceremony because it conflicted with his golf outing. I'd been playing the role he needed me to play, the grateful wife who'd traded her combat boots for sensible flats, who needed help understanding the complicated world of investments and savings plans. But every time he condensed to explain why we couldn't afford to help my father with his chemotherapy costs, I was watching another $5,000 disappear into this carefully constructed web of deception. Tonight is different, though. Tonight, I'm not just observing. Tonight, I'm implementing Phase 3 of an operation that's been 6 weeks in the making. While Michael thinks I'm at my weekly PTSD support group, which is actually a meeting with our bank's board of directors, I'm about to activate protocols that will make his head spin. My phone buzzes with a text from my teammate Rodriguez, who now works cybersecurity for National City Bank. The text is simple. Systems ready. Your authorization? I type back, confirm authorization. Execute at 2100 hours. Through the restaurant window, I can see Michael lean across the table to kiss Cassandra's perfectly manicured hand. The same hands that are about to find themselves holding something very different from champagne flutes. I've seen Cassandra's social media evolution over the past year, from a modest legal secretary posting about public transit and discount groceries, to someone flashing designer handbags and 5-star restaurant check-ins with mysterious captions about her generous benefactor. What makes this particularly insulting is that Michael knows my father is dying. He sits at our dinner table every Sunday, making small talk with a man who served 3 tours in Vietnam and now can't afford the experimental treatment that might save his life. All while Michael's been tunneling our savings into what he calls his investment portfolio. But what I know is actually Cassandra's new wardrobe and their secret apartment in Tremont. The military taught me patience. We spent days in reconnaissance positions, gathering intel, waiting for the precise moment to move. Civilian life tried to break that discipline out of me, but some training goes soul deep. While Michael has been conducting his financial infidelity, I've been conducting surveillance that would impress my old commanding officer. I know about the 3 credit cards he opened in my name. I know about the loan he took out against his mother's house. I know about the Bitcoin wallet he thinks is hidden behind layers of encryption. I know because I've been documenting everything with the same precision I once reserved for enemy troop movements. My reflection in the bar window shows a woman most people would overlook. Medium height, graying brown hair pulled back in a practical bun, wearing the kind of clothes that blend into any crowd. Michael used to say it was like being married to a ghost sometimes, how I could fade into the background of any room. He meant it as criticism. I took it as confirmation that I'd maintained my operational camouflage. The bartender, an older man with knowing eyes, slides another bourbon my way. "On the house," he says, nodding toward the window. "Anyone watching that closely deserves a drink." I smile and accept the gesture. In 6 minutes, Michael's world is going to change forever. His corporate credit cards will be declined. His private accounts will be frozen. The apartment lease he's been hiding will be flagged for fraud investigation. And the call he'll receive in approximately 18 minutes will inform him that his wife, his supposedly simple-minded, financially incapable wife, is now the majority shareholder in every asset they've ever touched. My phone shows another notification. Rodriguez again. "All systems in position. Digital paper trail complete. Legal team standing by." I take a sip of bourbon and wonder if Michael ever suspected that the woman he's been lying to spent years tracking down financial terrorists who made his amateur hour deceptions look like child's play with Monopoly money. The same woman who once recovered $847 million in stolen reconstruction funds probably knows how to handle his $67,000 in hidden accounts. The real irony is that I actually loved him once, or loved the man I thought he was, the one who picked me up from Walter Reed after my last surgery, who held my hand through the nightmares, who promised that civilian life would be different, better, safer. I believed him because I wanted to. Because after 8 years of watching friends die and economies crumble, I thought maybe I could trust someone with more than my back in combat. But trust, I've learned, is just another weapon that can be turned against you. Through the window, I watch Michael laugh at something Cassandra says, his wedding ring catching the light as he gestures. "That ring cost $3,000. Not because we couldn't afford more, but because I'd insisted on something simple." "It's not about the money," I'd told him. "It's about the promise." Now I know he'd already been breaking that promise for 3 years by then. The documents in my briefcase include everything the bank will need. Every forged signature, every hidden transfer, every time he's used my military disability payments to fund his double life. What he doesn't know, what he couldn't know because he never bothered to ask about my actual service record, is that I have security clearance that puts me 3 levels above his amateur hour financial games. My phone shows 8:59 p.m. 1 minute to go. I raise my glass to the window, to the man who thought he married a broken soldier instead of a warrior who simply chose to put down her sword. Some battles, I've learned, require different weapons than the ones they taught us in Quantico. Sometimes the pen really is mightier than the sword, especially when it's signing legal documents that will redistribute 12 years of accumulated wealth. The clock on my phone ticks over to 9 p.m., and I nod to the bartender one final time before gathering my briefcase. In exactly 3 minutes, Michael's phone will ring, and his perfect little deception will shatter like glass hitting pavement. The call comes at exactly 9:03 p.m., just as I predicted. I can see Michael through the restaurant window, his expression shifting from annoyed confusion to growing panic as he steps outside, pressing the phone to his ear while Cassandra watches with narrowing eyes. "Mr. Bradley, this is Karen Peterson from National City Bank's Fraud Division. We've detected unusual activity on your accounts requiring immediate verification. I'd helped Karen craft that script 3 days ago. Unlike Michael, she actually knew about my background in military financial investigations. We'd served together on a joint task force in 2016, rooting out overseas contractors who were siphoning funds meant for Afghan orphanages. I cross the street, timing my approach perfectly as Michael's face goes ashen. He catches sight of me just as Karen delivers the coup de grace. It appears your wife has initiated a comprehensive audit of all shared assets. We're showing her as the primary account holder on 17 different financial instruments. Sarah? He stammers, lowering the phone. His eyes dart between my face and the restaurant window where Cassandra has emerged, wrapping her coat tightly against the November cold. What are you doing here? I thought you had your support group. Let the silence hang for a moment, studying the man I've shared a bed with for 12 years. Up close, I can see the expensive haircut he claimed was for a client meeting, the monogrammed cuffs on his shirt that definitely didn't come from our joint account, and the slight tremor in his hands as he realizes his carefully constructed world is imploding. I had a different kind of meeting tonight, Michael, with people who understand the true value of trust and transparency. I pull a folder from my briefcase, the same briefcase he once mocked for being too military practical. Would you like to explain these transactions to Cassandra, or shall I? Cassandra sways slightly in her designer heels, her confident smirk faltering as she recognizes the gravity of the situation. For months, she's been the other woman, secure in the knowledge that the wife was too damaged, too dependent to ever be a threat. Now she's watching that assumption crumble in real time. Sarah, please. Michael's voice drops to a whisper. This isn't what it looks like. Can we talk privately? Oh, we're well past private conversations, Michael. I hand him the first document from my folder. This is a record of every time you've lied about client dinners, emergency conferences, and late-night research sessions. 17 months of deception, itemized by date, time, and expense. His hands shake as he scans the pages. I've included screenshots of his text messages with Cassandra, copies of credit card statements with charges to restaurants they both tagged, on Instagram, and a detailed timeline of how our rental property investment fund has been financing their secret apartment. How did you... He begins, then stops, realization dawning. The bank, your meetings, you knew. I've known for 3 months, Michael, but knowing isn't enough. In the military, we call it actionable intelligence. You need evidence. You need documentation. You need an airtight case before you launch an operation. Cassandra steps closer, her voice sharp with panic. Is this legal? This surveillance? I turn to her, noting how her designer purse, a Chanel I recognize from my father's, medical bill amount, trembles in her manicured grip. Here's what's interesting, Cassandra. You've been posting about your mystery benefactor for months. Every gift, every trip, every dinner. What you didn't realize is that you were building the evidence trail for me. From my folder, I produce a printed grid, dates of bank withdrawals matched with her Instagram posts. Valentine's Day dinner at Morton's coinciding with a $800 charge to Michael's hidden credit card. A weekend in Charleston matching exactly with a $3,000 withdrawal from our home equity line. The Tiffany bracelet she'd posed with, time-stamped, within hours of a $5,200 transfer from our medical fund. The money for my father's chemotherapy, I continue, my voice steady despite the fury building in my chest. You know what that funded instead? Your yoga retreat in Bali. Every treatment he couldn't afford because we were saving for the house renovation. That was actually financing your lifestyle. Michael's face reddens with something between shame and anger. Sarah, you're taking this too far. Yes, I made mistakes, but ruining my career? Ruining your career? I laugh, the sound sharp enough to make him flinch. Michael, you've been embezzling from joint accounts, forging my signature on loans, and using my disability payments to impress your girlfriend. In the civilian world, they call that fraud. In the military, we called it treason when you stole from your brothers in arms. His phone rings again. This time it's his law firm's senior partner. I know because Rodriguez intercepted a memo 2 hours ago about an emergency partners meeting scheduled for first thing tomorrow morning. Someone has been copying them on all financial irregularities involving their associates. Don't answer. I advise quietly. Jeffrey Bradley doesn't take kindly to associates who compromise the firm's reputation, especially when those associates have been charging personal expenses to client accounts. His hand hovers over the phone, and I see the exact moment he understands the scope of what's happening. This isn't just about our marriage. This isn't just about the money. Every piece of his professional life is being systematically examined, under the microscope I'd been positioning for weeks. The Morrow contract? I continue, pulling out another document. Those weekend trips to Nashville you claimed were for client relations? The Morrows live in Cincinnati, Michael. They haven't. Left the state in 8 months. But Cassandra's check-ins show you both in Nashville 6 times. Always at the Music City Hotel. Always charged to the firm's expense account. Cassandra goes pale. Michael, you said... I said a lot of things. He snaps, rounding on her. Just, like you said you loved me for who I was, not for what I could give you. Speaking of what you could give, I interject, producing another paper. Cassandra, you should know that the apartment Michael's been paying for, it's actually owned by a holding company registered to my name. Has been since 2019. When Michael put down the deposit using our savings, he unknowingly made me your landlord. The look of shock on both their faces is almost worth the months of deception. Almost. You see, I continue, adjusting my simple sweater, a deliberate contrast to Cassandra's designer outfit. When you're married to someone in financial intelligence, you learn to prepare for possibilities. Michael took my careful documentation as paranoia, my separate accounts as trust issues, my questions about our finances as inadequacy with complicated banking. I turned to Cassandra directly. Did he tell you I was broken? That I couldn't understand complex financial matters? That I needed him to handle everything because of my PTSD? Her silence confirms everything. Here's what he didn't tell you. I ran the Marine Corps' Financial Crimes Division for 3 years. I testified before Congress on military fraud. I recovered stolen assets in 12 countries. My PTSD support group? It's actually a financial literacy program I teach at the VA hospital. Michael's phone won't stop ringing now. First the bank, then his office, then his mother, whose house he used as collateral without telling her. I can see the realization dawning that I haven't just discovered his affair. I've systematically documented and reported every financial crime he's committed in service of it. The Bitcoin wallet, I say, watching him freeze. The one you think is hidden behind 3 layers of encryption? I've been monitoring it for 6 weeks. Did you really think the government doesn't have protocols for tracking cryptocurrency? Especially when it's being used to hide marital assets? Cassandra's designer coat suddenly looks less like fashion armor and more like costume jewelry. Expensive looking but worthless when you know the true cost. What happens now? Michael asks, his voice small, defeated. I close my folder, meeting his eyes for the first time all evening. Now, Michael, you learn what it means to face someone who's been preparing for this mission longer than you've been planning your exit strategy. Tomorrow morning, you'll discover that integrity isn't just a military value. Sometimes it's the most powerful weapon in your arsenal. As I turn to leave, my phone buzzes with a message from my father's doctor. The experimental treatment has been approved. The funding has been secured. Not from our depleted savings, but from accounts Michael never knew existed, accounts I'd been building with my consulting fees and financial recovery work since before he started stealing from us. Behind me, I hear Cassandra's heels clicking. Rapidly away from the scene, her relationship with Michael lasting exactly as long as his ability to pay for it. Some lessons, it seems, cost more than others. The next morning arrives with the crisp clarity that always follows a decisive action. I've barely slept, but it's the good kind of sleeplessness. The kind that comes from executing a mission successfully rather than lying awake wondering when the other shoe will drop. My phone has been buzzing all night with updates from various allies I've cultivated over the months. At exactly 6:47 a.m., I watch through our bedroom window as Michael's Lexus pulls into the driveway. He's been somewhere all night, probably trying to find a hotel that would accept his suddenly declined credit cards. The dark circles under his eyes and the wrinkled suit tell their own story. He parks crookedly, gets out, and stares at our house, like he's seeing it for the first time. What he doesn't know is that I've changed the locks. What he also doesn't know is that I'm recording everything through the security system he installed last summer. The same system he'd dismissed my interest in as cute but unnecessary for someone with your background. I make my coffee using the expensive espresso machine he'd bought for impressing clients at home. Now it's serving its first honest purpose in months, fueling the woman who's about to dismantle the rest of his carefully constructed life. My phone rings. It's Rodriguez from the bank's fraud department. "Morning, Sarah. Thought you'd want the overnight update." "Go ahead," I say, watching Michael struggle with the front door key that no longer works. 3 more accounts flagged. He tried to access the safety deposit box at 2 a.m. Security denied access and immediately notified us when they ran his credentials. Seems our boy spent the night trying to liquidate assets. And the offshore transfers? Frozen solid. His attempt to move the Bitcoin triggered a federal investigation query. Did you know he was using the same IP address patterns as a sanctions dodging operation we tracked in 2019? I smile grimly. Habits of the amateur, what else? His law firm called an emergency meeting for 7 a.m. Partner track review, they're calling it. Apparently, several clients have been asking questions about inconsistencies in their billing. Through the window, I see Michael finally giving up on the door and walking around to the backyard. He's about to discover that I've secured every entry point and had the alarm system reprogrammed. Old habits from Kandahar. Always control your perimeter. "Rodriguez, I need you to do something for me. Call Arlington National Cemetery's administrative office. My father should be buried there when his time comes. Tell them I'll be setting up a memorial fund. Using clean money, I assume? The cleanest. Every penny I saved while he was stealing from my father's medical fund. After hanging up, I text my attorney Patricia Kim, a former Navy JAG officer who understood exactly why I needed to handle this operation like a military mission rather than a messy civilian divorce. Morning, Patricia. Status update? Her response is immediate. Preliminary divorce papers filed. Restraining order on all financial assets approved. Your documentation is pristine. I've seen federal prosecutors with less comprehensive evidence packages. What about the house? Technically yours. The mortgage has been in your name since 2018. When Michael refinanced, he never read the fine print about which names were on the new paperwork. Classic case of underestimating your opponent. I walk to the kitchen window and see Michael trying the back door. His movements are jerky, frustrated. He's starting to understand that this isn't a temporary problem he can charm or negotiate his way out of. My phone buzzes with a message from Cassandra. "Sarah, I'm sorry. I didn't know. Can we meet? I'll tell you everything." I delete it without responding. Intelligence gathering phase is over. What she knows now is irrelevant to the operation. The doorbell rings with the special pattern I'd arranged with my new security team, 2 former MPs I'd served with in Iraq. Through the peephole, I see Michael standing between them, looking smaller somehow without his car keys, wallet, or working credit cards. "Mrs. Bradley?" The larger of the 2 MPs says when I open the door. "Your husband would like to collect some personal items." "Of course. Supervised access only, please. I've prepared a list of approved items." Michael's eyes meet mine, and for a moment, I see something I haven't seen in months. The man I married before ambition and entitlement corrupted him. The vulnerability is almost enough to make me pause. Sarah, please. Just give me 5 minutes to explain. You had 17 months to explain, Michael. Every time you told me we couldn't afford my father's treatment. Every time you said we needed to budget more carefully. Every time you made me feel guilty for asking about our finances. I hand the security team the list. Only what's on the paper. As they escort him inside, my phone rings. It's Patricia again. Change of plans. His firm just called. They're not waiting for 7 a.m. Partnership termination, effective immediately. Something about client funds and FBI inquiries. How long do I have before he knows? About 30 seconds. They're calling his cell now. Through the hallway, I hear Michael's phone ring. I watch him answer, his voice echoing through our exposed beam ceiling. Another home renovation I'd orchestrated while he was busy planning his exit strategy. What? No, there must be some mistake. I can explain the morrow. Account. Yes, I'm calling back immediately. His voice cracks on the last word, and I know he finally understands. This isn't about suspicion or emotional outburst. This is about documented fraud, systematically exposed and reported to every relevant authority. While he's on the phone with his former employers, I text Rodriguez. Next phase. Release the social media evidence to the Bar Association. The MPs are efficiently gathering items from the list. Clothes, personal documents, his father's watch, the Purple Heart medal from his grandfather. Nothing more. The Rolex that appeared 6 months ago? Not on the list. The cufflinks from Tiffany? Also missing from the approved items. When he emerges from the bedroom, clutching a garbage bag of belongings, Michael looks like a man who's just watched his entire world collapse in real time. The firm, he says, staring at his phone. They said, federal investigation, client account irregularities. How did you... Michael, I interrupt gently. Do you remember what they taught us in Quantico about asset protection? About how to track financial crimes across international borders? About building airtight cases that stand up to federal scrutiny? His confusion deepens. Us? Sarah, you were never at Quantico. You did basic training at Paris Island. I pull out my phone and show him a photo that's been burning a hole in my digital wallet for months. Me in dress blues, standing next to the commandant of the Marine Corps at my graduation from the Financial Crimes Investigation School. The photo is dated 3 months before we met. Advanced Financial Crimes Division, Class Alpha 6, I explain. Top of my class. Specialized in multi-jurisdictional fraud detection. The same skills you thought were too complicated for your shell-shocked wife to understand. The garbage bag slips from his fingers, hitting the floor with a pathetic thud. You were investigating me like a suspect? You made that choice when you decided I was too damaged to notice you stealing from our family. When you explained basic banking to a woman who'd helped recover billions in stolen military funds. When you thought love meant I'd be blind to your betrayal. My phone chimes with another update. This time it's from the VA hospital where I supposedly had my PTSD support groups. Dr. Williams here. Treatment approved for your father. Full coverage through our financial assistance program. He's being transferred to Walter Reed this afternoon. The irony hits like a tactical strike. While Michael was stealing to impress, his mistress, my real work, the financial assistance programs I'd been developing for veterans' families, is what saves my father. The apartment in Tremont, I tell Michael, returning to business. Lease terminated as of this morning. Cassandra has until noon to collect her belongings before I donate everything to the women's shelter on Detroit Avenue. Christ, Sarah. You've planned this like a military operation. Because that's what it was, Michael. You declared war on our marriage 17 months ago. I've just been gathering intelligence and waiting for the right moment to execute a proportional response. The MPs clear their throats, indicating it's time for him to go. As Michael bends to pick up his bag, Something falls from his pocket. A business card for a beach resort in Costa Rica. The trip they'd planned for next week, using money earmarked for my father's chemo. I pick up the card and hand it back to him. You'll want to cancel this, unless you found a way to afford luxury vacations on unemployment benefits. For the first time all morning, anger flashes across his face. You've destroyed everything. My career, my reputation, my future. All because of some money? No, Michael. I meet his gaze steadily. All because you forgot that honor means something, that vows mean something, that the woman standing next to you deserves more than being treated like collateral damage in your life strategy. As the MPs escort him to their vehicle, I call out one last instruction. Michael, check your email. I've sent you a full accounting of every dollar you've taken. Consider it your final performance review. I close the door and lean against it, finally allowing myself to feel the weight of what's just transpired. 12 years of marriage, dismantled with the precision I once reserved for enemy supply lines. The house feels different, lighter somehow, as if removing deceit had improved the air quality. My phone rings. It's my father. Sarah? The hospital called. They said my treatment's been approved? That someone anonymously funded the entire program? Not anonymously, Dad. Someone who knows what it means to have brothers in arms. Someone who learned from the best Marine. I know that you never leave your people behind. You did this? We did this. Every lesson you taught me about integrity, every value you demonstrated through 3 tours in Vietnam. Michael thought those values made me weak. Turns out they made me prepared. After hanging up, I walk through the house that's now entirely mine, past the home office where I spent months building the case against my own husband, past the kitchen where he'd patronizingly explained investment portfolios while I mentally calculated his theft rate. In the living room, I find the Purple Heart he'd insisted on displaying, the medal I'd earned saving my squad leader in Helmand Province. He'd always been proud to tell people his wife was a war hero. He just never bothered to understand what that actually meant. I pour myself a fresh cup of coffee and open my laptop. Time for Phase 4. Rebuilding what's been recovered. My father's. Treatment is secured. The stolen funds are being returned to their proper purposes, and for the first time in months, I'm not playing a role. Tomorrow, Cassandra will find her belongings boxed up outside her former apartment. Michael will wake up to a new reality where charm and entitlement won't pay the bills. His parents will learn that their daughter-in-law tried to warn them about the loan against their house, but Michael had intercepted the letters. The morning. Sun streams through windows I no longer have to share, illuminating dust motes that dance like evidence finally exposed to light. In 6 hours, I'll head to Walter Reed to see my father admitted for treatment. In 12 hours, Michael will understand that his biggest mistake wasn't the affair or even the theft. His biggest mistake was underestimating a Marine who knows that the mission always comes first, and family is always worth fighting for. 3. Weeks have passed since the implosion of Michael's life, and I'm sitting in Walter Reed Medical Center's oncology wing, watching my father sleep peacefully for the first time in months. The experimental treatment is working, his pain levels are down, and yesterday he actually smiled when I told him about the new financial literacy program I'm launching at the VA. My phone buzzes with the now familiar pattern of updates from my network. I've assembled a team that would make any military operation proud, Patricia handling legal matters, Rodriguez covering financial forensics, and now Lieutenant Colonel Jennifer Matthews, my former CO, ensuring everything stays within federal guidelines. Sarah, this is Jen, the text reads. FBI Financial Crimes wants a meeting. They're interested in Michael's connection to that offshore crypto ring we uncovered. I step into the hallway to call her back. Through the window, I can see Virginia's December landscape, bare trees and gray sky that matches the starkness of what we've been uncovering about Michael's activities. Tell me about this crypto ring. I say when Jen picks up. It's bigger than we thought. Michael wasn't just a user, he was apparently recruiting other professionals. Law firms, accounting offices, even a few bank officers. The pattern suggests he was involved in something more organized than just hiding assets from his wife. This stops me cold. I'd been so focused on the personal betrayal that I'd missed the possibility of a larger operation. Are you saying while I was documenting his affair, I was actually uncovering a financial crime network? Looks that way. The transactions Rodriguez traced don't just connect to Cassandra's accounts, they link to a whole web of professionals who've been using similar patterns. Your documentation might be the key to a multi-million-dollar investigation. After hanging up, I returned to my father's room to find him awake, reading a newspaper someone had brought by. Dad, you should rest. He folds the paper, studying me with eyes that have seen too much war to be fooled by civilian lies. Tell me what's really happening with Michael. I settle into the chair beside his bed. For 3 weeks, I've been protecting him from the full scope of the situation, letting him focus on treatment. But my father didn't survive 3 tours in Vietnam by ignoring incoming fire. It's complicated, Dad. I've got time, sweetheart. And according to these doctors, more of it than I thought I had last month. So I tell him everything. Not just about Cassandra and the stolen medical fund, but about the financial crimes investigation, the federal interest, the possibility that Michael had been using our marriage as cover for something much larger than infidelity. My father listens with the tactical patience that marked his career in military intelligence. When I finish, he's quiet for a long moment. You know what this means? He finally says. That I was married to someone I never really knew? That. You've been operating a reconnaissance mission without backup. He reaches for my hand. Sarah, you've been fighting this alone. Where's your unit? I almost laugh, but he's right. I've been conducting this operation like a solo mission, forgetting everything the Marines taught me about team dynamics and support. Networks. As if summoned by his words, my phone rings. It's Margaret Bradley, Michael's mother. Sarah, I hope you don't mind me calling. I wanted to check on you. That's very kind, Margaret. No, it's overdue. We've learned some things about Michael's activities. The house loan wasn't the only thing he hid from us. Richard discovered Michael had been forging his signature on investment documents. We're actually meeting with Patricia Kim this afternoon. This is unexpected. Patricia is your attorney now? We hired her based on your recommendation. There's something else you should know. Cassandra came to us. She's terrified and willing to testify about everything Michael told her regarding the financial schemes. After the call, I stare at my phone, processing this shift. I'd prepared for a scorched earth scenario where I'd lose not just my marriage, but also the family connections I'd valued. Instead, the truth is creating unexpected alliances. My father watches me with knowing eyes. People respond to integrity, Sarah. You're seeing that now. A text from Rodriguez interrupts my thoughts. Meeting at Federal Building, 2 p.m., big news. I promise my father I'll be back for dinner and head into downtown D.C. The Federal Building hasn't changed since my briefings there during my military service. Same intimidating architecture, same sense of purposeful urgency in the corridors. Rodriguez meets me in the lobby, his excitement barely contained. Sarah, remember how we tracked that embezzlement ring in Kabul? Using transaction pattern analysis and social network mapping? The one that led to recovering $12 million meant for school. Construction? Exactly. We're looking at a similar pattern here. Michael wasn't just stealing from you. He was part of a syndicate moving money through law firms and into offshore crypto exchanges. The same techniques we used overseas work just as well in civilian financial crimes. In a secure conference room, I meet Special Agent Victoria Chen from the FBI's Financial Crimes Division and Assistant U.S. Attorney David Park. They're surrounded by screens displaying transaction flow charts that look disturbingly familiar. Mrs. Bradley, Agent Chen begins, Your documentation of your husband's activities has given us our first clear view of this network. We're tracking similar patterns across 12 other law firms in 3 states. 12 firms? The scope stuns me. Your investigation essentially broke open a money laundering operation. Park leans forward. Michael wasn't just hiding money from you. He was helping other professionals hide money from the IRS, from business partners, from former spouses. The techniques are sophisticated enough that we believe there's professional, criminal organization behind this. Rodriguez pulls up a timeline on the screen. Look at this. Michael's pattern matches exactly with suspicious transactions at Bradley and Associates, but also at Westfield Legal Partners, Morrison and Pike, and 8 other firms, each one following the same protocol for setting up shell companies and crypto accounts. So while I was catching him stealing from my father's medical fund, I say slowly, I was actually uncovering a criminal enterprise? Exactly, Chen confirms. And your military background in financial crimes gave you the exact skill set to document this properly. We need your help continuing this investigation. The request hits me with unexpected force. I've spent 3 weeks dismantling my personal life. Now they're asking me to help build a federal case. What kind of help? Active consultation, Park explains. Your understanding of both military and civilian financial systems makes you uniquely qualified. Plus, you have established covers with several players in this network who don't yet know you were investigating. I think about my father upstairs, finally getting treatment, about the house I'm rebuilding, about the divorce proceedings that still need resolution, about choosing between personal healing and national duty. What about Michael? I ask. Is he just a small player in this? Medium-sized, Rodriguez answers. He recruited at least 7 other associates across 3 firms. But he's also our best chance at flipping someone inside to reach the organizers. My phone rings. It's Patricia, calling with news about the divorce proceedings. Sarah? Michael wants to meet. No lawyers, just the 2 of you. Says he has something important about the financial investigation that he'll only tell you. The room goes silent as everyone realizes what this means. Michael might be making his play, either to bargain or to confess. Agent Chen looks at me expectantly. It could be an attempt to manipulate you, she warns. Or it could be our breakthrough, I close my eyes, thinking about the choice before me. As a Marine, I never left a fellow service member behind. As a wife, I've already cut Michael loose from my life. But as a citizen, as someone who's seen what financial crimes do to military, families and veterans, I know where my duty lies. Set it up, I tell Patricia, then turn to the federal team. But this time I won't be operating alone. I need full surveillance backup and extraction protocols. Michael may think he's meeting his estranged wife, but he's about to face a financial crimes investigator with federal support. Agent Chen nods approvingly. Welcome back to active duty, Mrs. Bradley. As I leave the federal building, the weight of this new mission settles on my shoulders alongside the relief of having backup. Michael thought marrying a veteran meant he got a dependent wife. He's about to learn that you can take the Marine out of the Corps, but you never take the Corps out of the Marine. My phone buzzes with another update, this time from Cassandra. Sarah, I found something else. Michael has a list of names. Next targets, he called them. Military families with inheritance issues. I saved everything. The scope of what we're dealing with continues to expand. What started as personal betrayal has evolved into a mission that could protect countless families from the kind of predatory fraud Michael and his associates have been perpetrating. I text back to Cassandra. Meet me at VA Hospital. Tomorrow, 1400 hours. Bring everything. As I head back to Walter Reed, I realize something profound has shifted. For weeks, I've been operating in personal vengeance mode, documenting wrongs and seeking justice for my family. Now, I'm transitioning back to what I do best, protecting people from predators who exploit their trust and service to the country. Michael may have thought he was working with amateurs when he joined this financial crime syndicate. He had no idea his own wife had spent years taking down operations exactly like this in some of the most challenging environments on Earth. The playbook he followed, setting up shell companies, using crypto to hide assets, exploiting emotional manipulation. I'd seen it all before in Iraq and Afghanistan. But this time, the mission is personal, and that makes it even more dangerous for him. The meeting with Michael is set for 6 p.m. at Union Station, a public place with multiple exits and FBI surveillance coverage. I spend the afternoon at the VA hospital, briefing both my father and the key security team on the expanded operation we've uncovered. "Dad," I explain, showing him a complex diagram Rodriguez prepared. "Michael wasn't just stealing from us. He was recruiting vulnerable veterans and their families into this network. People dealing with medical bills, PTSD, financial stress. Exactly. The population he knew how to exploit through me." My father's jaw tightens. At 74, his Marine bearing remains intact despite the chemotherapy. "Son of a bitch was using you as his reference point. You're his credential for targeting other military families." "Exactly. And Cassandra found something yesterday. There's a list. 12 more families Michael was planning to approach through social connections. All with medical emergencies. All with significant assets they're trying to protect." Lieutenant Colonel Matthews enters the room, carrying a tablet with real-time surveillance feeds from Union Station. "Sarah, FBI is set up on 3 levels. We've got audio, visual, and backup teams positioned throughout the terminal. If this goes sideways, you're extracted in under 30 seconds. I nod, checking my equipment one last time. The hidden recording device looks like a simple pendant, a gift from Michael on our anniversary 2 years ago. The irony would be amusing if it weren't so practical. My phone buzzes with a text from Cassandra. "On my way to VA hospital with the documents. Sarah, there's something else. Michael told me he has backup files on you. He said if anything happened to him, your service record would be compromised." The threat stops me cold. "He has files on me?" Jen Matthews looks up from her tablet. "What kind of files?" "Classified mission details, medical records, psychological evaluations from my combat tours." I sink into a chair. "If he's been digging into my military background, then he knows exactly what you're capable of," my father finishes grimly. "And he's prepared countermeasures." Rodriguez arrives with fresh intelligence. "Sarah, we ran a deep trace on Michael's communications. He's been in contact with someone at the Department of Defense, someone in personnel records." The scope of this conspiracy keeps expanding. Michael wasn't just running a simple fraud scheme. He had sources inside military databases, access to information that should have been locked down tighter than Fort Knox. "How far back do his contacts go?" I ask. "At least 18 months, possibly since before your marriage started having problems." Rodriguez pulls up a timeline. "Look at this. The first unusual access to your service records coincides with when he started the affair. He's been doing opposition research on his own wife. Agent Chen joins us remotely via secure video. Mrs. Bradley, this changes our threat assessment. If Michael has been accessing classified information about military personnel, this isn't just financial fraud. We're looking at potential espionage charges. The weight of this revelation settles over me like incoming artillery. Michael didn't just betray our marriage vows. He may have compromised national security to protect his criminal activities. We need to abort, Matthews says immediately. If he has compromised material on you, this meeting is too dangerous. No, I counter firmly. If he's using threats against veterans and their families, this meeting is more important than ever. But I need better protection. Full electronic surveillance isn't enough. I need someone inside. The solution comes from an unexpected source. Patricia Kim enters with Charles Morrison, Michael's former senior partner at Bradley and Associates. Charles wants to help, Patricia explains. Michael forged his signature on several documents. He's been cooperating with FBI for the past week. Morrison steps forward, his silver hair and distinguished bearing marking him as old-school legal integrity. Michael destroyed 20 years of reputation for this firm. I want him stopped, and I want every victim made whole. I'll wear a wire and position myself within sight during your meeting. 2 hours before the scheduled meet, I review the operational plan with military precision. Every contingency mapped, every escape route memorized, every piece of leverage cataloged. My father insists on being moved to a room with secure communications. I may be in a hospital bed, but I'm still your CO until this mission is complete, he declares. The medical staff, veterans themselves, understand and comply without question. At 5:45 p.m., I enter Union Station through the Massachusetts Avenue entrance. The evening commuter rush provides perfect cover as federal agents blend into the crowd. My earpiece crackles with status updates. Target in sight. North entrance, alone, comes the first report. Secondary package approaching from east. Another agent confirms. This would be Cassandra, arriving with her evidence files as planned. Michael appears across the terminal, looking haggard but dangerous. The charm that once defined him has been replaced by something harder, more calculating. He scans the crowd with the wariness of someone who knows he's outmatched but hasn't surrendered. He chooses a bench near the Amtrak departures, equidistant from multiple exits. Smart positioning. When he sees me approaching, his posture shifts, not relaxing, but recalibrating. "You came," he says as I sit, leaving appropriate tactical space between us. "You said you had information about the investigation. Talk fast." "Sarah, you've made this much worse than it needed to be. If you'd just talk to me..." "Skip the manipulation, Michael. I know about the syndicate. I know about the military personnel. Records. I know about the list of veterans you were targeting." His mask slips just slightly. "You've been thorough." "I'm a Marine, Michael. Thorough is what we do." I lean back, letting him see my confidence. "Here's what I don't understand. Why continue this charade? You're facing federal charges. Why try to involve me further?" "Because I have insurance." He pulls a phone from his pocket, showing me a screen full of files. "Every classified mission you ran in Afghanistan. Every psychological evaluation. Your complete medical history. One call, and this all goes public. Compromising classified information is a federal crime, Michael. You're digging yourself deeper. Or I'm guaranteeing my freedom. Drop the investigation, convince the feds to back off, and we both walk away clean." I pause, letting him think. I'm considering his offer while my earpiece feeds me real-time FBI analysis. They've identified the phone, traced its connections, and are running countermeasures as we speak. "You really thought you knew me, didn't you?" I say quietly. "Even now, you think I'm someone you can manipulate or threaten." "I think you're someone who values her privacy, someone who wouldn't want certain details of her service record public." "Details like what, Michael? Like how I testified before Congress on military financial crimes? Like how I've been consultant cleared for continued federal work? Like how every operation I've run is already declassified because I became a public expert?" His confidence wavers. "That's not possible." "The access logs were feeds we gave you." Rodriguez's voice comes through my earpiece. "Honeypot data. We've been monitoring every time you access those files." I repeat this information aloud for Michael's benefit. His face goes pale as he realizes the extent of the counter-operation. "You've been playing in your own reflection, Michael. Every move you thought was secret has been observed. Every threat you thought you had has been neutralized. Even the DoD contact you've been using, he's a federal informant." That's impossible. "You married a financial crimes investigator and thought you could outmaneuver me on financial crimes. Then you tried to blackmail a Marine with information I've already testified about in public hearings. You've consistently underestimated everyone around you, starting with your own wife. Morrison appears on cue, sitting at a nearby bench within earshot. Michael's eyes widen as he recognizes his former partner. Charles? What are you doing here? Cleaning up the mess you made of my firm, Morrison responds coldly. Sarah, whenever you're ready. I signal to the FBI team. Within seconds, Agent Chen appears beside our bench, credentials displayed. Michael Bradley, you're under arrest for financial fraud, compromising classified information, and conspiracy to commit wire fraud. As they lead him away, Michael looks back at me with an expression I can't quite identify. Betrayal? Respect? Fear? Maybe all three. Sarah, he calls out. You could have just let it go. We could have worked something out. Michael, I reply, standing to face him one last time. You spent months stealing from my father's cancer treatment. You tried to sell out veterans for profit. You compromised national security to protect your affair. There was never anything to work out. Some lines, once crossed, can't be uncrossed. As federal agents escort him toward a waiting vehicle, Cassandra approaches from the side. She hands me a thick folder of documents before following the arrest team. Everything's here, she says, including the real names of everyone in the network. I'm testifying for full immunity. My earpiece crackles with congratulations from the team. Mission successful, target neutralized, larger network exposed. But as I walk back through Union Station, past commuters heading home to their families, I feel the weight of what's been permanently destroyed alongside the relief of what's been protected. My phone rings. It's my father. Sarah, did you get him? We got him, Dad. And we got the whole network. No more veterans targeted through their families. No more stolen medical funds. No more exploitation of trust. Proud of you, daughter. Come back to the hospital. I want to hear every detail, and I owe you the rest of that story about Saigon 71. As I exit Union Station into the December evening, federal agents disbanding around me, I realize this mission changed more than just my marriage. It reconnected me with my military identity, my sense of duty, and my understanding of what protection really means. Michael thought he could use my service against me. Instead, he gave me the perfect battlefield to demonstrate why Marines don't leave their people behind, and why underestimating a warrior, especially one fighting for family, is the kind of tactical error that costs everything. The aftermath of Michael's arrest unfolds over the next several days like a carefully executed military operation. From my position in my father's hospital room, I coordinate with the FBI team to ensure every lead is thoroughly investigated. My phone has become command central for an operation that's grown far beyond personal vindication. Sarah, Patricia. Kim calls at precisely 0800 hours. She's adapted to military time after working with me these past weeks. The federal prosecutor wants to offer you a position, full-time special consultant for financial crimes against veterans. It's unprecedented. They're creating the role specifically for you. I glance at my father, who nods encouragingly from his bed. His color is better these days, the experimental treatment working beyond our highest hopes. Tell him I need 48 hours to consider. I have some unfinished business here. The business in question involves 13 veterans' families that Michael's network had targeted. Each one receives a personal call from me, explaining that the fraudulent financial advisors who approached them were part of a federal investigation and that their assets are now protected. The 12th call breaks me in. A way none of this has before. Mrs. Martinez, this is Sarah Bradley. I'm calling about the retirement funds your husband was asked to transfer to an overseas investment account. Oh, thank God. We haven't sent anything yet, but they were pushing so hard. Said it was time sensitive. Because of changes in military benefit laws. Her husband lost both legs in Iraq. Their savings represent 12 years of sacrifice and rehabilitation. Michael had specifically flagged them as high-value emotional leverage targets. The clinical calculation of it makes my blood run cold. Mrs. Martinez, those people will never contact you again. The FBI has frozen their operations, and we're implementing new safeguards for veterans' financial protection. After I hang up, I find myself in the hospital chapel, something I haven't done since the darkest days after coming home from Afghanistan. Prayer doesn't come easily, but gratitude does. Gratitude that we stopped this before the Martinez family joined the list of victims. My phone chimes with a secure message from Rodriguez. Michael talking. Big names involved. Need your expertise to understand the military angle. I return to, find Agent Chen waiting in the corridor with Lieutenant Colonel Matthews. The serious expressions tell me this is more than a routine update. We have a problem, Chen begins. Michael's given us names, but some of them are currently serving officers in financial oversight positions. We need someone who understands military protocol and financial systems to navigate this without compromising active operations. Show me, I say, following them to a secure conference room the hospital has provided. The screen displays a network diagram that looks like a battlefield, tactical map. Nodes connecting military bases, law firms, offshore banking centers, and crypto exchanges. At the center, Michael's operation, but feeding into something much larger. Look here, Matthews points to a cluster. Fort Bragg, MacDill, and Quantico all have financial officers who've been flagging suspicious investment opportunities to military families. The same opportunities Michael and his associates were pushing. I study the pattern, my combat-trained mind immediately seeing the vulnerabilities. They're not just stealing money, they're mapping military families' financial situations, building profiles. For what purpose? Chen asks. Intelligence. If you know exactly who's vulnerable financially, you can predict future behavior. Deployment cycles, transfer requests, security clearance issues. I trace connections on the screen. This isn't just about money. It's about compromising military effectiveness. The room falls silent as the implications sink in. What started as my personal investigation into a cheating husband has uncovered a network that may have national security ramifications. Rodriguez pulls up another file. Sarah, we need to show you something else. Michael's contact at the Department of Defense? It wasn't just one person. It's a group. They've been accessing not just personnel files, but operational finance data. How long? I ask, though part of me already knows the answer. At least 3 years, possibly longer, the same time frame as your marriage to Michael. The realization hits like an artillery round. Michael didn't just exploit our relationship for personal gain. He was potentially recruited because of his connection to me, to my service record, to my specialized knowledge of military financial crimes. My phone rings. It's Cassandra. Sarah? I remembered something else. Michael used to ask me questions about your deployment schedules. Said he was planning surprise homecoming celebrations, but now I realize he was always asking when you'd be away from your computer. There's someone called the architect. Never met them face to face, but they designed the whole system. Russian accent on the phone calls, but could be fake. They coordinate with assets in at least 12 countries. The crypto accounts trace back to a bank in the Cayman Islands, Meridian International Trust. Account holder listed as J.A. Morrison. This stops me cold. Morrison? As in James Morrison, Charles's brother. He's been dead for 5 years, but someone's been using his identity to move money. I make rapid notes, already texting Rodriguez to cross-reference this information. What else? The medical targeting wasn't random. They had someone in medical insurance companies flagging terminal diagnoses, especially for military families. Your father's cancer wasn't a target of opportunity. They knew about it months before you did. My pen stops moving. What did you just say? They had inside information from Walter Reed. Experimental treatment programs, clinical trials, families, facing mounting costs. That's why I was so resistant to funding your father's treatment. I was told to maintain financial pressure, to make you more vulnerable to recruitment down the line. They wanted to flip you, Sarah, not me. I was just the access point. The room tilts slightly as I process this. Michael wasn't the primary target. I was. My expertise in military financial crimes made me valuable enough to run a years-long operation to compromise through personal leverage. How long had they been planning this? Since before we were married. They knew your service record, your specialty, your deployment schedule. My assignment to the same veterans' charities wasn't coincidence. I wasn't randomly assigned to your mother's memorial fund committee. I was placed there. The scope of this manipulation is staggering. Our entire relationship, 12 years of marriage, my father's illness, all potential leverage points in a counterintelligence operation targeting my knowledge and position. Does Cassandra know? I ask, though I suspect I know the answer. Cass was recruited 2 years ago to monitor your behavior, report on your stress responses, your patterns when working from home. They wanted to know if you would crack under pressure or become more methodical. You know what the funny thing is? Michael looks directly at me for the first time. They completely underestimated you. They thought pressure would make you vulnerable. Instead, it made you dangerous. I close my notebook and signal the guard. Before leaving, I need to ask one more question. Michael, that last message you sent through your attorney, about understanding now. Did you mean it? He's quiet for a long moment. I meant it. But understanding doesn't change what I did. I destroyed the best thing in my life because I was too arrogant to recognize that you were always 10 steps ahead of everyone else in the room, including me. On the drive back to Washington, I conference call with my task force. Every piece of information Michael provided gets cross-verified and fed into our investigation matrix. By the time I reach my office, we have 3 new leads and confirmation that J.A. Morrison's identity was indeed stolen. That evening, I call my father from my apartment, no longer the penthouse I shared with Michael, but a secure government property in Arlington with defensive advantages and surveillance equipment. Dad, I need to ask you something. When your cancer was diagnosed, did anyone outside the medical team know before I did? There's a pause. Sarah, what aren't you telling me? I think we need to move you to a more secure facility. This operation has been targeting us specifically for much longer than we realized. Negative, daughter. I'm staying at Walter Reed where my doctors are. You've got bigger fish to fry. His voice carries the same command authority that led Marines through Vietnam. But Sarah, trust your training. You've built a good team. Don't let personal feelings cloud operational judgment. After hanging up, I review the case files one more time. Michael was partially right. I have gotten more methodical under pressure. But he's still fundamentally wrong about why. This was never about being dangerous. It was about being prepared. My phone buzzes with an encrypted message from Lieutenant Colonel Matthews. Architect identified. Operation Griffin authorized. When you're ready to hunt. I send back a simple reply. Always ready. Marines lead from the front. Tomorrow begins the next phase of Operation Guardian Shield, taking down the network that tried to use my marriage, my father's illness, and my military expertise as weapons against our own national security. Michael's betrayal started this journey, but now it's become something much larger than revenge or justice. It's about protecting every family that serves this country from predators who mistake compassion for weakness and devotion for vulnerability. The woman Michael married may be gone, but the warrior he accidentally awakened is about to demonstrate why some lines should never be crossed. The mission continues. The hunt for the architect begins at dawn when our surveillance team picks up unusual crypto activity from Meridian International Trust in the Caymans. I'm standing in our operations center at Fort Myer, coordinating with 18 different federal and military agencies while tracking movement across 3 continents. Director Bradley? Agent Chen calls from her station. We've got real-time transaction monitoring. Someone's moving large sums, approximately $23 million through the Morrison account right now. Patch me through to the Cayman Islands Financial Intelligence Unit, I order, watching the digital money trail unfold across multiple screens. Rodriguez, I need you to mirror those transactions in real time. Whatever they're doing, we need to see it as it happens. The coordination center buzzes with controlled energy. Analysts cross-referencing communication intercepts, cyber teams monitoring network traffic, and liaison officers managing international cooperation. This is what I trained for, though the personal stakes make every decision carry additional weight. Lieutenant Colonel Matthews approaches with a secure phone. Pentagon on line 1. SOCOM wants confirmation we're clear to activate special operations. If the architect tries to flee U.S. jurisdiction, I take the phone, speaking directly to Lieutenant General Harrison, who'd overseen some of my counterintelligence work in Iraq. General, we have probable cause linking the architect to attempted compromise of NATO security protocols. I recommend full international cooperation at the DEFCON 3 level. Authorized, Director Bradley. You have complete operational authority. Bring this bastard home. As I hang up, my secure phone rings with my father's emergency contact ringtone. This violation of our daily schedule immediately puts me on high alert. Dad? Sarah, abort the operation. Now, get out of there. His voice carries an urgency I haven't heard since he warned his unit about enemy movements in the jungle. What's happening? I just watched a familiar face walk past my window at Walter Reed. Someone from my old unit who died in Saigon, 1970. Either I'm hallucinating or we've been comprehensively played. The implications strike like lightning. I signal for immediate secure communications lockdown while simultaneously barking orders to my team. Rodriguez, initiate Broken Arrow protocol. All communications compromised. Switch to backup frequencies. Matthews, lock down the building. Nobody leaves without full clearance. Sarah, my father continues, get eyes on your team. Remember Bangkok 72? When we thought we had the arms dealer cornered? I remember the story. False intelligence, planned ambush. Good men lost because the enemy had been feeding them exactly what they wanted to hear. The architect identified, I say quietly to my team. It's not in the Cayman Islands. It's here. The financial transactions were bait to get us looking outward while they activated something domestic. Agent Chen's face goes white as she runs a counter-analysis on the crypto movements. Director, the transaction patterns, they're designed to create a false signature. Someone's been using our own tracking methods against us. My phone vibrates with a text from an unknown number. The cancer survivor teaches his daughter well. Too bad families make such convenient leverage points. The architect. Ice runs through my veins. If they're texting me directly, they're inside. Our operational security. Everybody out of this room except my core team, I command. Rodriguez, Matthews, Chen. Everyone else is a potential compromise. As the room clears, I make the hardest decision of my career. Lock the building down completely. Full military containment. No exceptions. 3 minutes later, alarms sound throughout the facility. My phone rings through encrypted channels. It's SOCOM confirming building lockdown, but also informing me that we've detected 6 potential security breaches across different military installations nationwide. Dad, where are you right now? Exact location? They just moved me to a secure wing. Sarah, this feels like they've been orchestrating for months. Every piece of this investigation has led exactly where they wanted us. I run tactical scenarios in my mind, the training from years of counter-operations clicking into place. Dad, you said someone from your unit who died in Saigon. What was his name? Technical Sergeant James Morrison. But Sarah. James Morrison. Not his brother, the original. Someone's been using a ghost identity for decades, and we've been chasing shadows. I turn to my team. Every piece of intelligence we thought we had needs to be inverted. The Morrison connection isn't about the law firm. It's military. Someone with deep knowledge of military financial systems and veteran demographics. Rodriguez pulls up historical records. Sarah, look at this. James Morrison was reported KIA in 1970, but his body was never recovered. His financial records show activity for 20 years after death before going dormant. Then they reactivated 18 months ago. When Michael proposed, I say quietly, they needed him married to me before activating this operation. My second phone rings, the direct line from Justice Department. I answer to hear the voice of the Attorney General. Director Bradley, the President is aware of the situation. We're prepared to implement continuity of government protocols. How bad is the compromise? Sir, we're dealing with a long-term penetration that may have military intelligence community roots. Someone who knows how we operate, how we communicate, how we track threats. They've been creating false positives while running a parallel operation targeting military families for compromise and recruitment. Do you need me to activate National Guard support at military installations? Negative. That would signal panic. We need surgical precision. Keep regular operations running while we identify the true scope of penetration. After hanging up, I face my core team. Gentlemen, we're going back to basics. No digital communications, no networked systems, paper maps, landlines, and face-to-face. Briefings only. There's a knock on our secured door. It's Cassandra, accompanied by 2 MPs. Sarah, there's something I never told you about how Michael and I actually met. I motion for her to continue. He didn't find me at that yoga class. I was assigned to him. They told me it was a sting operation to catch corrupt attorneys. What they didn't tell me was that the real target was you. Through him, through me. The room goes silent as we process this new intelligence. Who gave you the assignment, Cassandra? A man claiming to be FBI. He showed credentials, had all the right paperwork. But now I realize it was all military terminology, military protocols. He knew how you operated in combat zones. He even mentioned your squad designation from Kandahar. Show. Her the pictures, Rodriguez says grimly, pulling up photos on his secure tablet. Military personnel from various oversight positions, all flagged for suspicious activity in our investigation. Cassandra scans the images, then stops, her finger pointing at a silver-haired man in dress blues. Him. That's who recruited me. The nameplate reads, Brigadier General Theodore Blackstone, Deputy Director, Defense Financial Management Agency. The scope of betrayal is breathtaking. Not just a criminal network, but a military insider using his position to run operations against his own service members. Get me a secure line to the Joint Chiefs, I tell Matthews. The architect isn't foreign intelligence, it's one of our own. As he makes the call, I think about Michael's words. They weren't just interested in money. Financial stress was a mapping tool for military capability. And who better to map those vulnerabilities than someone tasked with overseeing military finances? My phone rings one more time. My father again. Sarah, I just remembered something else about Morrison. He was Blackstone's communications officer in Vietnam. They were both declared MIA together during the Tet Offensive. But only Blackstone made it home. Dad, how certain are you about this? I pulled them both from that helicopter crash myself. Morrison died in my arms. But Blackstone was talking to someone on the radio as I got to them. Even bleeding out, he was transmitting coordinates. I always wondered who he was talking to. The pieces fall into place with terrifying clarity. For 50 years, Theodore Blackstone has been building networks, creating leverage, identifying vulnerabilities in the very system he swore to protect. Michael wasn't recruited because of his law firm connections. He was recruited because he had access to me, and I had access to military financial crime detection at a level that could either strengthen or destroy Blackstone's operation. Matthews, I call out, prepare special operations. We're going to end this tonight. Where to, Director? I look at the wall map, thinking about everything I know about Blackstone, about long-term operational thinking, about how a man could survive for Decades while presumed dead. Walter Reed Medical Center. That's where he'll be, where he's always been. Hidden in plain sight among the wounded, collecting intelligence, building leverage. He's been watching my father, monitoring the experimental treatment program, waiting for the perfect moment to make his ultimate play. The woman Michael underestimated is about to face the ghost who created the network that destroyed her marriage, threatened her father, and compromised our national security. The hunt is over. Now comes the reckoning. Walter Reed Medical Center, at midnight, has an eerie quality that reminds me of forward operating bases before a dawn raid. My special operations team moves through the corridors with practiced silence, each member wearing civilian clothes over tactical gear. We're not just hunting a financial criminal anymore. We're hunting a traitor who's spent 5 decades undermining the very institution he once served. Director Bradley, Rodriguez whispers through our comms. Thermal imaging shows 2 heat signatures in your father's wing. One's his life signs, but the other is right where I expected. I finish, checking my sidearm one final time. Maintain perimeter. This needs to be surgical. As we approach my father's new room, I signal my team to hold position. Through the small window, I can see a silver-haired figure in medical scrubs sitting beside my father's bed, engaged in what appears to be casual conversation. But I know better. I've seen this pattern before in Iraq. The slow gathering of intimate details, the gentle pressure for information, the building of trust before the final extraction. My father's eyes meet mine through the glass, and he gives the slightest nod, the signal we'd agreed upon years ago. Target is unaware. I key my radio. All teams go on my mark. I open the door with the confidence of someone who belongs there, causing Brigadier General Theodore Blackstone to turn with surprise that quickly shifts to resignation. "Director Bradley," he says calmly, rising from the chair. "I was wondering, when you'd figure it out?" "The ghost of James Morrison," I reply, keeping my hand near my weapon. "Though I'm guessing you've been using more than just his identity over the years." Blackstone smiles, and for a moment, I see the decorated combat officer he once was. "Your father speaks highly of you. Says you inherited his tactical mind. I can see why the Marines invested so much in your training." "Stand down, Blackstone. It's over. 50 years of running operations against your own country ends tonight." "Does it?" He glances at my father, then back to me. "Do you know how many veterans' families I've helped save from financial ruin over the decades? How many I've positioned for success? By stealing from others, by compromising security clearances, by turning military service into commodity for exploitation. By surviving," he corrects sharply. "The military abandoned James and me in Saigon, left us to die while politicians played games with soldiers' lives. I learned something important from that experience, Director Bradley. The system doesn't care about individual service members. It cares about the mission." "So you became what?" "You claim to hate? A politician playing games with soldiers' lives?" Blackstone's expression hardens. "I became someone who ensures military families aren't left behind. Your father's cancer treatment, funded through networks I established, Michael's recruitment, a necessary evil to gain access to the only financial crimes investigator smart enough to eventually track me down." "You're delusional," I say quietly. "You've compromised national security, stolen millions, and destroyed countless lives. I've built an empire that protects veterans long after the bureaucracy forgets about them. Do you know how many families Michael's network prevented from losing their homes? How many—" "Dad," I interrupt, looking past Blackstone to my father. "Tell him about Betty Morrison." My father's face becomes granite hard. James Morrison's widow. She spent 20 years fighting for his death benefits, thinking her husband died a hero, never knowing his best friend assumed his identity to build a criminal empire. For the first time, uncertainty flickers across Blackstone's face. "You used his memory," I continue. "His sacrifice, as foundation for your operations. You stole from the Marines who pulled you from that burning helicopter. You betrayed everything the uniform stands for. I protected what the uniform couldn't, Blackstone spits back, but his voice wavers. No, my father says, sitting up despite his condition. You betrayed it. James died believing in something bigger than himself. You turned that sacrifice into profit. The sound of boots in the corridor signals that SOCOM's elite apprehension team has arrived. Blackstone looks around the room, perhaps calculating one last escape, but seems to realize something I'd been hoping for all along. He's tired. Director Bradley, he says finally, with something approaching respect. You remind me of myself at your age, idealistic, determined, certain about right and wrong. He removes something from his pocket, a data drive. Everything's on here. 50 years of operations, every name, every account, every protected family. Stand down, General. There's a lot of questions that need answers. As federal agents lead him away, Blackstone pauses at the door. The system you're protecting, Director, it will fail you someday. When it does, remember that I tried to build something that wouldn't. After Blackstone is taken into custody, I slump into the chair, beside my father's bed. The adrenaline fades, leaving only exhaustion and the weight of what we've uncovered. Dad, did you know? Not until tonight, he says quietly. But there were always rumors. Soldiers who came home with more resources than they should have had. Families who suddenly had their problems solved through mysterious benefactors. I thought it was just conspiracy theories. My phone buzzes with updates from Rodriguez. The data drive contains evidence of the most extensive veterans' welfare network ever discovered, half criminal empire, half support system. Thousands of families had been helped, but hundreds had been compromised or exploited in the process. 3 months later, I stand before Congress once again, this time delivering our final report on Operation Guardian Shield. The investigation revealed a 50-year operation that had infiltrated every level of veteran support services, from local VFW posts to Pentagon financial systems. Members of the committee, I conclude, while Brigadier General Blackstone's methods were criminal, his identification of systemic failures in veteran support has led to the most comprehensive reform of military financial services in our nation's history. After the hearing, I visit Michael one last time at FCI Greenstone. His cooperation proved valuable in unraveling Blackstone's network, though it doesn't erase his personal betrayal. "How's your father?" he asks, the standard greeting after 6 months of periodic updates. "In remission. Full recovery expected." I pause, considering my words carefully. Michael, Blackstone was right about one thing. The system does fail veterans. Sometimes. What he was wrong about was thinking he had to break it to fix it. And you? What will you do now? I look through the reinforced glass at the man I once planned to spend my life with. I'm using everything we learned, from your theft, from Blackstone's network, from every family we protected, to build something better. A veterans' financial protection program with military precision and civilian oversight. Named after anyone special, he asks with a ghost of his old smile. The James Morrison Foundation, for service members who sacrifice everything and the families who never stop believing in them. As I leave the federal facility for the last time, my phone rings with my father's daily check-in. But today, it's different. "How's my favorite task force director?" "Ready for regular family dinners and boring Sundays," I reply honestly. "Good. Because I'm cooking tomorrow, and I've invited Rodriguez, Matthews, and Patricia. We're calling it the first annual Survivors of My Daughter's Tactical Planning Dinner." Driving back through Washington's spring evening, I reflect on how a marriage built on lies led to uncovering a decades-old conspiracy that ultimately strengthened the very systems it sought to exploit. Michael's betrayal woke something in me that Blackstone's recruitment never could have. The warrior who fights for her own, who exposes predators, and who builds better defenses from the rubble of broken trust. Sometimes the greatest victories come from the most personal battles. Thanks for listening to this story of betrayal, investigation, and ultimate justice. If you enjoyed following this journey from personal devastation to national security operation, make sure to hit that subscribe button for more incredible stories of resilience and revenge. Drop a comment below about what surprised you most in this tale, and don't forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss when we drop our next unbelievable story. Tomorrow, we've saved an extra special story for you. One about a stay-at-home mom who uncovered a pharmaceutical conspiracy that reached the highest levels of government. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. Remember, sometimes the quietest person in the room is the most dangerous. Sometimes the betrayed spouse is actually 10 steps ahead. And sometimes, just sometimes, a simple investigation into a cheating husband can save national security. Keep your eyes open, stay aware, and we'll see you in the next one.